Hi, my name is Sarah Lana. I'm an emergency services coordinator with the City of Berkeley's Office of Emergency Services. And in this video, we are going to walk through completing your household fire weather plan using our new planning tool. So this tool is available on our website. It is cityofberkeley.info/wildfire. And before we talk more about the tool, I want to mention that our website has a lot of different videos and information that provide a lot of important context about Berkeley's fire risk, fire weather, and fire evacuation. So please do visit that website, watch all the rest of the videos that we have there, and look at all the other downloads. And then as we walk through this video, I'd recommend that you download and print the fire weather planning tool so you can take notes appropriate to your own household as we go through the content. Once we're done with this video, or while you watch it, you can go through it with everyone in your household. So think also about your children, your pets, any frequent visitors that might be involved in fire weather planning or response altogether. Now, let's get started. The first thing that we recommend that you do is know your zone. So this might be new to you, but recently Berkeley has joined, along with the rest of Alameda County and many surrounding jurisdictions, a system called Zone Haven. Zone Haven is our new evacuation management system. You can check it out right now at community.zonehaven.com. And we recommend that you do that now because we want you to learn your evacuation zone before an evacuation is ordered. So we've broken up Berkeley into a number of different zones in order to more quickly communicate to you if we need you to do something like evacuate or shelter in place. What you can do now is to go to that website, community.zonehaven.com, and learn your zone, memorize it, post it on your refrigerator, and write it into your planning tool in that first box above. The reason this is important is that during a fire, you can check the Zone Haven website to get real-time information on your zone's evacuation status, whether you are under evacuation order or whether you're being told that you're not actually immediately going to be impacted by a fire. The next thing that we want you to do more broadly is to be ready to receive emergency information. We have a couple different systems that we use to share emergency information, and our primary one is AC Alert. AC Alert is the Alameda County Mass Notification System, and we do have all of the landlines in Berkeley preloaded into that system so that we can send geo-targeted messages to landlines. But if you want to get emergency information on your cell phone or via email, we need you to give us that contact information so that we can reach out to you. So please do go to acalert.org and sign up to make sure that your email addresses and your cell phones are capable of receiving that emergency information. In addition, for messages that are not emergencies but are important, for example, red flag alerts, we are able to send those out to email and to the Everbridge mobile app. Everbridge is the system that supports AC Alert and systems like it across the country. And if you would like to get those non-emergency messages immediately to your phone and not have to go through your email to get them, then you can download the Everbridge app and connect it with your AC Alert account. That's a new option this year in 2021. So the next thing that we want to talk to you about is a new idea. It's choosing your evacuation trigger. So we talk about this in some of the other videos that we have on our website, but here in Berkeley, what we're recognizing is that the traditional idea that you should wait until a fire starts and an evacuation is ordered for your zone is not going to work for everyone. We know that there are certain conditions that we call extreme fire weather that if there is a fire that occurs during these conditions of very high winds, and very low humidity, that a fire created during those conditions will be very difficult to fight and will spread very quickly and will create an evacuation challenge that not everyone will be able to meet. So we're encouraging everyone to look at what your household's capabilities are, look at the weather and pay close attention. We will tell you when we're expecting extreme fire weather, and really make a decision for your household. And it might be that each person or each being in your household has a different evacuation trigger based on their own capabilities and needs. The fire department recommends, though, that if you live in the Berkeley Hills, officially termed fire zones 2 and 3, that you leave during periods of extreme fire weather because of those reasons I mentioned before about fires being really difficult to fight. If you choose, though, you can stay until after a fire starts. And everyone, of course, should be ready to evacuate if you ever need to. And if you decide to stay until after a fire starts, the question that you should be answering is, do you want to evacuate when there is an evacuation warning issued for your zone? That means prepare to evacuate. Or do you want to wait until there's an evacuation order? The difference between warning and order is that a warning, again, means you should be ready to evacuate. An order means you are in imminent danger right now and you must leave. It is a lawful order to evacuate. One thing to think about as you make this decision is that you will have more control and more options the earlier that you leave. This is a personal decision and you need to make it considering your own household and your own household's needs, but make sure to make the decision before it's made for you. The next thing that you need to think about is where you will stay. And I want to start by saying that if we do have a major fire like this, we are automatically planning with the Red Cross and planning with local officials to set up what we call mass care sites. So these are places where people who are evacuating from, the hazard can go if they have nowhere else to go. What you need to keep in mind is that it takes time to put these sites together and they may not be immediately available. The other thing to keep in mind is that your options that you could set up in advance of a fire are almost always going to be able to better meet your needs and be more comfortable for you than whatever your government can put together for you after the fact. We will absolutely be working with the Red Cross to designate shelters, but keep in mind that a shelter is going to be a group living situation. It's going to be there to meet your basic needs. We're talking about sleeping on a cot. We're talking about a large shared space like a basketball court. And you're going to be there with a lot of other evacuees. If you bring your pet, then your pet's going to be in a kennel. So if you can make your own plans now, you are likely going to be a lot more comfortable. So those plans are going to look different for different households. In some cases, it might be that you are staying with family or friends who live outside of the hills. In other cases, you might have the means to stay at a hotel. But think creatively. Remember that not everyone in your household needs to do the exact same thing, just like you don't need to go at the exact same time. But if you can make plans or arrangements prior to a fire, you are going to be so much more comfortable and confident in your plans than if you wait until after a fire starts. The next step is thinking about what you'll need help with and thinking about just to get out of your house and out of the hills. What are you going to need to leave your home? Are you going to need help navigating stairs? Are there going to be heavy items that you need to lift to get help with? Do you have pets that you're going to need help gathering, or even children? Think about that question, and also think about the difference between trying to get that help prior to a fire starting, prior to an official emergency, versus after an emergency, after a fire has started. So before a fire starts, there might be people from outside the area that you normally rely on, whether they're family, friends, caregivers, what have you, to help you out. And those people would be great to lean on if you are leaving before a fire starts. But in an emergency evacuation, you need to be relying on your neighbors, I should say, because the neighbors that are immediately around you are going to be the people who are able to physically get to you the most reliably. So we broke up those questions into two different ideas. Before a fire starts, who can provide that help? And after a fire starts, who are those neighbors who can provide that help? And specifically, think about what it is. Have those conversations now and don't wait for that emergency to try to sort it all out. The next thing you need to do is plan how you'll get there. How will you get out of the hills to the place that you want to go, where you're going to leave and stay at? The point that we want you to remember here is that the earlier you leave, the more choices you will have. If you wait to leave until after a fire starts, you must always be ready to walk in case you encounter a traffic jam or get a flat tire, or in case the roadway is blocked. When we talk about this planning, we also talk about the path of travel. This is really specific to leaving after a fire starts. And in doing that planning, we want you to think about having multiple routes away from your home and out of the hills. At least 2 routes driving, include 2 routes for walking. And for the walking routes, consider using the Berkeley Path Wanderers paths. They were specifically designed to offer the most direct path out of the hills. Highlight those routes on a map and practice them. Don't get stuck using the same route out and away from your house that you do every single day. Now, during a fire evacuation, if possible, law enforcement personnel are going to provide evacuation directions, but you may not receive directions. So if you don't, what you want to think about is using main roads that connect to major streets or to freeways. Whatever you can do to get to the big, wide streets that are more likely to be open, less likely to be blocked. Once you get out of the fire area, go to the place that you have planned, whether it's the family home, the friend's home, or to a hotel. And if these aren't options, then while you wait, we'd recommend you go to a parking lot, go to a Starbucks, go somewhere where you can sit comfortably for a while and wait for more information and instructions. I think this is one of the hardest things for us to wrap our heads around, the idea that we can't provide evacuation directions ahead of time. And what I want to mention to you is the challenge that we face. We don't know when the next fire is going to start exactly. We can tell you conditions that will make a fire more likely, but we also don't know where it will start and exactly how it will spread. So as soon as we can get you those specific directions and information, we will, but we cannot afford for you to wait until that picture is clear. So that's why we really need for you to be ready with multiple routes for driving and multiple routes for walking. The next step is to plan what you will bring. So if you're leaving before a fire starts, what you should focus on is the items that you need to be comfortable when you arrive at your destination. You can have this time, this extra time to focus on irreplaceable items, valuable items, sentimental items that you wouldn't want to lose in a fire. If, by contrast, you are leaving after a fire starts, your focus needs to be on your go bag. These are the items that you need to safely evacuate the fire area. These are the items that you will need to live safely until you can get assistance from the government and the Red Cross and get into a shelter or other site. So keep those ideas in mind as you look through those checklists of things to bring and things to pack. One thing to remember for your go bag is that you need to be able to carry it with you should you have to evacuate your car and walk out. If you're leaving after a fire starts, if you have an evacuation warning and you have time to change, then we recommend closed-toed shoes. We recommend you change into cotton clothes, long sleeves, get a hat with a wide brim. And regarding masking, so now that we've all gone through COVID, a lot of us have cotton masks or bandanas. One thing to mention here is that we do not want you to wear anything other than cotton on your face because we don't want any materials that could possibly melt on your face. We checked in with CAL FIRE on this, and they do not recommend that you wear an N95 while you are evacuating from a fire because the contents of an N95 can melt to your skin should you encounter really hot conditions. They said that their staff wear dry bandanas covering their face. And so if you find yourself in that same situation, considering doing that as well, but this is not going to be the time for your N95 or your KN95 or your surgical mask. Now let's talk about planning for children. If you don't have children, you can fast forward to the next section about pets. So with children, we really want to think about them from start to finish at every point of the game. When you think about your evacuation trigger, remember that your children have the option of leaving earlier before you do. If you opt to stay until a fire starts, you could still have your children leave and stay with a relative or a friend during extreme fire weather. Similarly, keep children in mind when you're packing for leaving, whether you're thinking about a go bag and what you'll need to leave safely during a fire evacuation, or what you'll need to be comfortable if you decide to leave before a fire starts. One note on evacuating with children is that, as we discussed before, you always need to be ready to walk. Do not assume if a fire has started that you will be able to drive all the way to safety with your children. So that means that you may need to have child carriers ready. You may have baby wearing devices that you use, but keep that idea in mind of being ready to walk with your children and thinking about what your children's capabilities and needs are. The second thing we wanted to talk about here is planning for your pets. And a lot of the considerations are really very similar to planning for what your children will be able to do and will need. Our pets don't have to have the same evacuation trigger as other human members of the household. It's possible for pets to leave earlier, stay in boarding, stay with a friend, and the same questions apply, of course, to evacuating during a fire. Your pet may need to leave the car, and so you need to be ready for that, whether it means having leashes, having kennels, and if we're talking about kennels, of course, you as the owner need to be ready to carry that kennel down and off the hill. This last section is about preparing your home. And we should be clear just to start out that your first priority needs to be your life. So after a fire starts, if your zone is in an evacuation order, Do not take any of these steps, just go as fast as you can. If your zone is under evacuation warning and no one in your household needs extra time to leave, then you can take whichever of these steps you can to prepare your home for an oncoming fire. So this planning tool, I should also frame, is focused on those actions that you can take to protect your home when a fire is likely, but there are a number of steps that we can take before a fire starts to reduce the likelihood that it'll burn down. And you can check out our webpage, cityofberkeley.info/wildfire, to learn more about vegetation management and to get tips on how to further protect your house, doing more longer term planning and activities. So if you're leaving your home before a fire starts and you have ample time to take all of these preparedness steps, you should shut all your windows and shut all your doors inside the house as well as outside. You should raise your shades and remove your curtains because curtains can be flammable. If you have time, you should move your flammable furniture to the center of the room, away from windows and doors. Turn on your lights that are inside and turn off your air conditioning. When you're outside of your house, the same idea about moving flammable items away from the home applies here too. So you want to take anything that's flammable, whether it's patio furniture or toys or doormats or trash cans and or potted plants. Move those things away from your home, away from your decks if you have a deck. And that way, if those items catch fire, they will be less likely to transfer that fire to your home, to your deck, that sort of thing. One other option is actually to move those items inside your house so that they're not exposed to, all the embers or direct fire that might come. Similarly, if you have a propane barbecue, you really want to move it away from structures. And then some steps that you can take to make your home a little bit more protectable are to connect a garden hose to your outside water valve or spigot in case it can be used by firefighters. But do not leave your sprinklers on. Do not leave your water running. We have to preserve that water pressure for firefighting, and firefighters know how to turn things on. One of the things that can happen in fires is these embers can enter your home via an open vent and then catch fire that way. So anything you can do to block off those vents will help your cause. Now, again, if you are under evacuation order, you need to just go. Lock your doors, close your doors, and go, because your life is more important than any kind of property. So that concludes the walkthrough of our household fire weather planning tool. We really appreciate you taking the time and energy to think about these important topics before a fire. And we have a lot more for you. To learn more, please visit our website, cityofberkeley.info/wildfire. To sign up for emergency alerts, visit acalert.org. And to learn your evacuation zone, please visit community.zonehaven.com. If you have any other questions, please reach out. We are at OES, that's Office of Emergency Services, shortened, OES at cityofberkeley.info. Thank you.